The restaurant was too quiet for a birthday celebration. Candles flickered on a long table at Marcello's, casting dancing shadows across white linen. Crystal glasses caught the amber light. The private dining room should have felt festive, joyful. It was my 70th birthday, after all, but the tension was suffocating. My daughter Caroline sat rigid beside me, her smile tight and false. Her husband Richard scrolled through his phone, barely present. My son James made desperate attempts at small talk about weather and traffic. His wife Sarah smiled sympathetically but said little. And then there was Thomas, my oldest grandson, 26 years old, sitting at the far end of the table with his arms crossed and that smirk plastered across his face. He'd been watching Marco all evening like a predator sizing up prey. Marco sat beside me, quiet and calm. He wore a simple black shirt, understated European elegance. His dark hair slightly tousled, his beard on that perfect edge between scruffy and groomed. His brown eyes were guarded tonight, watchful. He hadn't wanted to come. I'd begged him. They need to see you, I'd said that morning. They need to stop treating you like something I'm hiding. Beatrice, I don't need their approval. I know, but I need to stop hiding. The first course arrived. Expensive appetizers I couldn't name. The main course followed doso buco that smelled divine but tasted like ash in my mouth. Small talk continued, forced, uncomfortable. Everyone carefully avoiding the obvious, the fact that I was sitting next to a man 39 years younger than me, and no one believed he was here for any reason other than my bank account. Then Thomas stood up. My stomach dropped. I'd like to make a toast, he announced. Caroline's eyes went wide. Thomas, maybe, no, Mom, this needs to be said. He raised his wine glass, eyes locked on Marco. To my grandmother, 70 years of wisdom, 70 years of making good choices. He paused, letting sarcasm sink in. And apparently, 70 years wasn't enough to teach her how to spot a con artist. Thomas, I started. Tell me, Marco, what's the going rate these days? Monthly? Weekly? Or is it performance-based? The room went silent. Marco's jaw tightened, but he didn't react, just sat there with that infuriating calm. Thomas turned to me, voice dripping with mock concern. Come on, Grandma, let's just call it what it is. He raised his glass higher. That your gigolo? Your boy toy? Your kept man? The words hit like physical blows. Humiliation washed over me in hot waves. The door opened. Everyone turned. A man stepped inside, mid-50s, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit, salt and pepper hair, the kind of presence that commands attention without effort. He looked around calmly, then his eyes settled on Marco. Mr. Benedetti, he said, his Italian accent unmistakable. You left this at the consulate this afternoon. The silence changed, became heavy, pregnant with something none of us understood. The man walked forward carrying a leather portfolio embossed with an official seal. Marco stood, his entire posture transforming. Giancarlo, thank you for bringing this. His voice was different, still calm, but with an edge of command. The ambassador wanted to ensure you received these personally, Mr. Benedetti. The documents inside are classified. Time sensitive. He said the meeting has been moved to Thursday. Ambassador. Classified. Thomas's mouth hung open, his glass still raised to frozen. Giancarlo glanced at me, gave a respectful nod. Signora, my apologies for interrupting, Mer. Benedetti speaks of you often, with great affection. He turned back to Marco. Buonasera, Enrico. Enjoy your evening. Then he was gone. The door closed with a soft click. Enrico sat down, set the portfolio beside his chair, picked up his fork. Like nothing had happened. Thomas was still standing, still frozen, his face pale. I was the first to break the silence. Marco. He looked at me, eyes soft again. We'll talk later. Beatrice. I promise. He turned to Thomas. You were saying something? Have you ever been humiliated for loving someone younger? Been judged without people knowing your story? Comment below, this might be yours too. Let me back up. Let me tell you how I got here. My name is Beatrice Montgomery. I'm 70 years old. I spent 42 years married to William, a professor of economics. Good man. Steady. Reliable. We raised 2 children, Caroline and James, in a comfortable suburban home. We had routines, patterns. The kind of safe, predictable life people dream about. When William died 8 years ago, massive stroke. No warning, I thought my life was essentially over. Not in a dramatic way, just finished, complete. I'd done my part. Raised my kids. Been a good wife. What else was there? The funeral was a blur. Casseroles appeared on my doorstep. Caroline moved in for 2 weeks, making sure I ate and slept. But eventually, life resumed. She got busy with her career and family. James did too. I sold the house 6 months later. Too many memories. Bought a modern condo downtown. Clean lines. No history. No ghosts. I filled my days the way widows do. Book clubs on Tuesdays. Volunteer work on Thursdays. Long walks when the weather was nice. I traveled summer European river cruise with other single women my age. Everyone polite. Everyone alone. I ate dinner in nice restaurants by myself, bringing books so I didn't look pathetic. Went to afternoon movies when theaters were empty. Learned to enjoy my own company because what choice did I have? But I was lonely. The deep kind. The kind that sits in your chest like a stone. That makes every day feel gray even when the sun is shining. People talk about aging like it's graceful, dignified, like you're supposed to accept being invisible. Accept that your life is in the rearview mirror. Accept that the best years are behind you. But I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to be invisible. To spend however many years I had left just waiting for holidays. Waiting for brief visits from busy children. Waiting to die. I wanted to feel alive again. I wanted to matter. I wanted someone to see me as something other than a polite obligation. Caroline and James visited occasionally. Brought the grandchildren. Made small talk about school and work. But I could see it in their eyes, that mixture of pity and relief. Pity that I was alone. Relief that I wasn't their problem. I became a checkbox on their to-do lists. To call mom. Check. The loneliness wasn't the kind that makes you cry, though there was plenty of that the first year. It was deeper. The kind that makes you wonder what the point of living is when no one really sees you anymore. I had friends. Other widows. We'd meet for coffee. Talk about grandkids and doctor's appointments. But it wasn't enough. My bedroom still had William's things. His glasses on the nightstand. His shoes in the closet. His cologne on the dresser, half empty, scent fading. I couldn't throw them away. It felt like erasing him. Some nights I'd lie in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the house creak, and wonder, is this it? Is this all that's left? Just waiting. I wasn't ready for that. I wanted more. I just had no idea how to find it. I met Marco in the most unlikely way imaginable for a woman my age online. I know what you're thinking. A 70-year-old woman on the internet looking for connection. It sounds like a scam waiting to happen. But it wasn't like that. After William died, I became paranoid about identity theft and online fraud. I'd read too many articles about elderly victims, so I started researching digital security. Reading about encryption and two-factor authentication. I joined an online forum dedicated to cybersecurity discussions. One day, I posted a question about password managers. Usery_Benedetti responded. His answer was thorough, patient. Didn't make me feel stupid. Explained things I could understand. I thanked him. He said no problem. That should have been it. But it wasn't. A few days later, I posted another question. He answered again. We started going back and forth. About technology at first. Then about books, movies, philosophy, the state of the world. His English was perfect, but had this slightly formal quality that suggested it wasn't his first language. Charming, actually. We moved to private messages after a few weeks. The conversations got longer, deeper. We'd discuss Sartre and Camus. He'd recommend Italian films I'd never heard of. I'd recommend American novels he'd never read. I found myself checking the forum multiple times a day, spending hours crafting replies, wanting them to be intelligent and interesting. 3 months in, I realized I was falling for someone I'd never met, someone whose face I'd never seen. It was ridiculous, but I couldn't help it. One day, he sent a photo. "This is me. I thought you should know who you're talking to." I opened the attachment with trembling hands. The photo showed a man in his early 30s. Dark hair, serious brown eyes, a slight smile that suggested he knew exactly what I was thinking. He was sitting in a cafe, espresso cup on the table, European street scene behind him. He was beautiful, and young, so young. I stared at that photo for a long time. Finally, I typed, "You're young." His response came quickly, "And you're American. Does either of those things matter?" I thought about it. About all the reasons it should matter. "No," I wrote. "I guess it doesn't." "Good, because I'd like to keep talking to you." "More than all right." We video called for the first time on a Tuesday evening in April. I was so nervous I almost canceled 3 times, but I forced myself to click the call button. His face filled my screen. The photo hadn't done him justice. "Beatrice," he said my name like something precious. "It's so good to finally see you." "You too." We talked for 2 hours. He told me about growing up in Milan, about his father dying when he was young, about studying computer science while working nights as a security guard. He told me vaguely about his work, security consulting, something about protecting digital infrastructure. He was deliberately vague. I didn't push. I told him about William, about my children, about feeling invisible in my own life. "You're not invisible," he said, eyes intense through the screen. "Not to me. I see you, Beatrice." And I believed him. We talked every day after that. Video calls that stretched for hours. He said it first. 3 months after that first call, "I'm falling in love with you. I know it's absurd, but I need you to know." My heart stopped, started again, pounded hard. "I'm falling in love with you too." He smiled. That beautiful, devastating smile. "Then I'm coming to see you." "What?" "I'm coming to America, to meet you, in person. If you want." "I want." He flew to Chicago 3 weeks later. I met him at the airport with a sign that said E. Benedetti. When he walked through those doors, carrying a black duffel bag, wearing jeans and a jacket, smiling when he saw me, my breath caught. "Beatrice." "Enrico. Marco is fine, really." He smiled. "Are you going to hug me or just stare?" I laughed, nervous, giddy. And then I hugged him. And he was real, solid, warm. Actually here. We spent 5 days together, walking through the city, eating at small restaurants, talking until 3 in the morning. On the 3rd night, sitting in my living room with wine and city lights spread below us, he took my hand. "I want to try this. Really try. I know it's unconventional, but I think you're worth it. Marco, I'm 70. You're 31. People will be cruel. Let them. Your family lives in Italy and trusts me." "Your family." I grimaced. "Will lose their minds. Then we keep it quiet for now. Just us." He pulled me closer. "I haven't felt this way about anyone in years. You make me think. You challenge me. You see me as more than my age or my work." His voice dropped. "I want more of this. More of you. If you'll have me." I kissed him then. My first kiss in 8 years. Marco moved to the States 6 months later. He had work here, consulting contracts with tech companies. Something about cybersecurity infrastructure he still couldn't discuss in detail. We kept the relationship quiet at first. I wasn't ashamed. But I wasn't ready for the questions, the judgment. But keeping secrets from family is harder than it sounds, especially when you're happy, really happy. That kind of happiness shows. Caroline noticed first. Mom, you seem different. What's going on? I took a breath. I'm seeing someone. Silence. Long and heavy. Seeing someone. Like dating. Yes. That's great. Tell me about him. How did you meet? Online. In a forum about digital security. And where does he live? Here, Chicago. He moved here for work. Another pause. How old is he, Mom? And there it was. 31. The silence was absolute. Then, I'm sorry, what? He's 31 years old. Mom, you're 70. I'm aware. That's a 39-year age difference. Yes, I can do math. This isn't funny. A 31-year-old man doesn't date a 70-year-old woman unless he wants something. The accusation hung between us. You think he's after my money. What else would he be after me? Maybe he's after me. Mom, I'm not an idiot. Caroline, I know how this looks. But I also know how I feel. And I know him. This is real. You've been alone for 8 years. You're vulnerable. He's taking advantage. Or maybe I'm a grown woman making my own choices. She was quiet. Then, I want to meet him. Fine. I'll arrange something. But I knew it was a mistake. That Caroline had already decided who Marco was. The first meeting was a disaster. Caroline insisted on hosting dinner at her house. Marco wore slacks and a button-down, brought wine and nice Brunello. She answered the door with that tight smile. You must be Marco. Pleasure to meet you, Caroline. He handed her the wine. She barely glanced at it. Come in. Everyone's in the living room. Everyone. James and Sarah, Richard, and Thomas. Home from college for summer. The introductions were stiff. James shook Marco's hand too firmly. Richard barely looked up. Thomas sized him up like merchandise and found it wanting. Sarah was the only one genuinely kind. Nice to meet you. Beatrice has told me wonderful things. All good. I hope. We sat in silence. Uncomfortable. Nobody talking. Caroline finally broke it. So, Marco, Beatrice says you work in cybersecurity. Yes. I consult for companies that need help protecting their digital infrastructure. That's vague, Thomas said dismissively. What does that actually mean? I help prevent data breaches, assess vulnerabilities, develop security protocols. Sounds boring. It can be, but it's necessary. And it pays well? Caroline asked, too casual. It pays adequately. Adequately enough for your own place? I rent an apartment downtown. 1 bedroom. How much? Richard suddenly interested. Richard, I snapped. It's fine, Marco said calmly. $2,200 a month. Before utilities. Caroline's eyebrows rose. Expensive for one person. It's close to my clients. Worth it. And you pay that yourself? You don't need help. The implication was crystal clear. I pay my own rent. My own bills. I've never asked your mother for money. Never will. Yet, Thomas muttered. Marco heard. Everyone heard. But Marco just smiled slightly. Ever. Dinner was served. Salmon that tasted like cardboard. The questions continued. Constant, probing, invasive. Where's your family? Milan. My mother and sister. And they're okay with you dating someone. Caroline trailed off. They trust me to make my own decisions. Thomas got bolder as wine flowed. Let me get this straight. You're 31. She's 70. You met online. You moved here from Italy. And you expect us to believe this is real? Thomas, that's enough. James said weakly. No, it's fine. Marco set down his fork. Yes, I'm 31. Yes, she's 70. Yes, we met online. Yes, I moved here though not specifically for her. And yes, this is real. Whether you believe it doesn't change the truth. The truth. Thomas leaned back. Want to know what I think the truth is? Thomas, Caroline started. I think you saw a lonely old woman with money. I think you're playing a long game. Marco stood. Thank you for dinner, Caroline. But I think it's time we left. I stood too. Mom, wait, no. This was a mistake. I thought you could be happy for me. But all you see is age and money. You can't see that I'm happy. Really happy for the first time in years. My voice shook. I raised you better than this. I taught you not to judge. And you failed that lesson tonight. We left. In the car, I broke down crying. I'm so sorry. He pulled over, held me. It's not your fault. They're scared. They don't understand. They were cruel. Yes, but we knew they would be. Does it always have to be like this? No. Eventually they'll see. Or they won't. But either way, we have each other. The harassment didn't stop. It got worse. Thomas started joking on social media about gold diggers and desperate old women. Caroline called constantly, checking in, making sure I hadn't done anything stupid like changing my will. James was quieter but no less judgmental. He'd visit, make small talk, but I could see him cataloging my possessions. The message was clear. They thought I was being scammed. It hurt. But Marco never wavered. They'll come around, or they won't. But I'm not going anywhere. What if they never accept us? Then that's their loss, not ours. The birthday invitation came from Caroline. Mom, I want to do something special for your 70th. Marcello's has a private dining room, my treat. I was immediately suspicious. That's sweet. What did you have in mind? Dinner, the whole family. And Marco, pause. If you want to bring him, that's fine. The way she said it, like she was doing me a favor. He's part of my life. That makes him family. I know, Mom. That's why I said it's fine. But it wasn't fine. I could hear the trap being set. What is this really about? Celebrating your birthday. That's it. I'm trying, Mom. Meet me halfway. I wanted to believe her. So I said yes. I told Marco that evening. He was at his laptop, screens full of code. My family wants to take us to dinner. For my birthday. He looked up, immediately guarded. Us? Or you? Us. Caroline specifically said I could bring you. How generous. Marco, I'm sorry. That was unfair. He closed his laptop. When? Saturday. Marcello's. I know it. Nice place. Will you come? He was quiet, thinking. Calculating risks. Do you want me to? Yes. I want them to see us together. See how happy we are. They already see us. They just don't want to understand. Maybe this time will be different. Maybe. He didn't sound convinced. But more likely Thomas will say something cruel. Caroline will smile while judging us. James will wish he were anywhere else. Probably. And you still want to do this? I'm tired of hiding. Tired of keeping you separate like you're something shameful. You're the best thing that's happened to me in years. I want them to know that. He stood, crossed the room, pulled me into his arms. You're braver than you think. Or more stubborn. Definitely stubborn. He kissed my forehead. All right. I'll come. But Beatrice, prepare yourself. This probably won't go well. I know. And whatever happens, whatever they say, I'm not going anywhere. I love you. Promise. Promise. The week leading up to dinner, I was a wreck. I changed outfits 6 times. Black dress to formal, floral to casual. Finally settled on navy blue velvet with a delicate necklace. Marco wore all black, simple European, effortless elegance. In the car, neither of us spoke much. You okay? I finally asked. Fine. You're never this quiet. He glanced at me. Just thinking about what's going to happen. Running scenarios. It's dinner, not combat. With your family, not much difference. I laughed despite everything. He reached over, took my hand. Whatever happens tonight, remember something. I chose you, not because of money or anything else they think. I chose you because you're brilliant and kind and you make me want to be better. Tears pricked my eyes. I chose you too. Good. Then whatever they throw at us, we'll handle it together. Marcello's was exactly as I remembered. Rich wood, soft lighting from real candles, the smell of garlic and wine and fresh bread. We were led to the private dining room. My family was already there. Caroline stood when we entered. Cream pantsuit, professional smile and empty double quotes mom. Happy birthday. She hugged me. Obligatory. And Marco, thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting me. The lie hung between them. James rose, shaking Marco's hand with slightly more warmth. Richard grunted something, eyes on his phone. Sarah squeezed my hand with genuine affection. And Thomas, sitting at the far end in an expensive jacket over a black t-shirt. He didn't stand, just watched Marco with cold eyes. We sat. Menus distributed. Wine poured. Conversation started stiffly, weather, work. Safe topics requiring no real engagement. So, Mom, Caroline began, voice bright and false. How does it feel? 70 years old. Like any other day. Just a number. A significant number, James added. You should be proud. Thank you, sweetheart. You don't look 70, Sarah said kindly. Thomas snorted. Didn't say anything, but the sound spoke volumes. First course arrived. Antipasto that looked beautiful, tasted like ash. Marco ate quietly, that European sensibility savoring each bite even in hostile territory. More wine. Surface-level conversation. Caroline asked about weather again. James mentioned traffic. Richard still on his phone. Thomas just watched. Waited. Main course. Osso buco that smelled divine. Tasted like nothing. My taste buds had shut down. This is nice, James said too loudly. All of us together. Family is important. Thomas spoke for the first time, voice laden with meaning. Especially as we get older. Especially when certain people might try to take advantage. The table went quiet. Marco set down his fork, looked directly at Thomas. Did you have something you wanted to say? Just making conversation. No, you were making a point. If you have something to say it directly. Thomas smirked. Maybe later. Caroline jumped in. So Marco, still doing the cybersecurity thing. Yes, must be interesting. It has its moments. Traveling much? Occasionally. Long trips. The question had an edge. Are you around or conveniently absent? Sometimes, but I work remotely most of the time. From your apartment, or from Beatrice's condo. Caroline's expression flickered. Was he moving in? Taking over? Dessert arrived. Beautiful tiramisu with a single candle. They sang happy birthday, hollow, performative. I blew out the candle, wished for this to end. Thomas stood up. My heart sank. I want to make a toast. Caroline's eyes went wide. Thomas, maybe, no, Mom, this needs to be said. He picked up his wine glass, held it high, eyes locked on Marco with undisguised contempt. To my grandmother, 70 years of life, 70 years of experience, 70 years of making decisions, some good, some bad. Pause for effect. And apparently 70 years wasn't enough to teach her how to recognize a con artist. Thomas, Caroline hissed. But he wasn't done. Let me ask you something, Marco. What's your game? What's the end game? You show up out of nowhere, young, good looking. Tell my 70-year-old grandmother all the right things. Voice dripping with sarcasm. But we all know what this really is. You're not here because you love her. You're here because she has money. Thomas, sit down, James said sharply. No, someone needs to call out this bullshit. He turned to the table. Look at him. Vague tech job no one can explain. apartment he can barely afford. Why is he here? Because grandma is wealthy and naive. He raised his glass higher. So let's call it what it is. He looked at me, cruelty in his smile. That your gigolo, grandma? Your boy toy? How much do you pay him? The words hit like blows. Humiliation washed over me. Tears burned. Hands trembled. Marco's hand found mine under the table, but I couldn't look at him. Thomas was still talking, still holding his glass. Then the door opened. Everyone turned. A man stepped in, mid-50s, charcoal suit screaming money and authority. Salt and pepper hair perfectly styled. Military posture. He looked around calmly. Eyes settled on Marco. Mr. Benedetti, he said, Italian accent thick. Forgive the interruption. You left this at the consulate this afternoon. Silence. Absolute. The man Giancarlo walked forward with measured steps. Carried a leather portfolio embossed with an official seal. Marco stood. Something changed. Posture straightened. Expression shifted. The quiet man became someone else. Someone with authority. Giancarlo. Thank you. I apologize for the inconvenience. No inconvenience, sir. The ambassador wanted to ensure you received these personally. He handed the portfolio with both hands, a gesture of respect bordering on deference. The documents are classified. Time sensitive. The ambassador said the State Department meeting has been moved to Thursday morning. Ambassador. Classified. State Department. Words hung like smoke. Thomas's mouth hung open. Glass still raised, frozen. Giancarlo glanced around. Gaze settled on me. Small, respectful nod. Signora. My apologies for interrupting your celebration, Mer. Benedetti has spoken of you often. With great affection. He turned back to Marco. Buonasera, Enrico. The ambassador sends his regards. Brussels confirmed the protocol. Grazie, Giancarlo. Give him my thanks. Of course, sir. Enjoy your evening. Gone. Door closed with a soft click that sounded deafening. Marco stood holding the portfolio, set it beside his chair, straightened his shirt, sat down, picked up his fork, cut osso buco, put it in his mouth, chewed, like nothing happened. Thomas still standing, still frozen, face pale. Caroline stared like he'd revealed he was someone else. James blinked rapidly, mouth opening and closing. Richard had put down his phone, paying complete attention. I broke the silence, voice barely a whisper. Marco? He looked at me, eyes soft again. That brief glimpse of someone else had vanished, but I knew what I'd seen. We'll talk later, Beatrice. I promise. He turned to Thomas. You were saying something? Thomas swallowed hard, set down his glass with trembling hand, sat slowly, face like old newspaper. Caroline found her voice. Who are you? Marco wiped his mouth, set down napkin precisely. My name is Enrico Benedetti. Most call me Marco, simpler, less formal. He leaned back, completely at ease despite every eye locked on him. I worked 12 years in diplomatic security, Europe and Middle East primarily, protection details for high-level officials, threat assessment, counterintelligence, the kind of work with security clearances and classified briefings. Silence, heartbeats loud. I left active field work 3 years ago. Now I consult. Cybersecurity primarily, that's true. But occasionally I'm called in for sensitive situations requiring my background. Situations involving ambassadors and consulates and documents that can't be discussed publicly. Sip of water. I don't talk about my past because I don't need to prove myself. 1. Maintain my clearances. Stay out of the public eye. Safer for everyone. Eyes found mine. I met your grandmother in an online forum. We talked about everything. I fell in love with her mind before I saw her face. Her intelligence, curiosity, kindness. He took my hand in front of everyone. I don't need her money. I have my own. I don't need her status. I have my own. I need nothing from her except her company, her conversation, her love. Voice hardened slightly. And I certainly don't appreciate being called a gigolo by someone who knows nothing about me or my relationship with his grandmother. Silence stretched. Richard started clapping, slow, half ironic, half genuinely impressed. Well played, man. We left shortly after. I couldn't stomach another minute. Marco drove us home in silence. Inside my condo, I poured wine with shaking hands. We sat on the couch. City lights below. Enrico, your real name. I told you early on. I just prefer Marco. Less formal, less weighted. But you didn't tell me everything. No. He set down his glass. The work I did, the places I've been. I can't talk about most of it. Not to you, not to anyone. Security protocols, legal obligations, keeping people safe. I understand. But you could have told me more. I could have, but I chose not to. Why? He ran his hand through his hair, frustrated, uncertain, because I wanted to leave that life behind. When I met you, it was the first time in years I felt like I could just be me. Not Enrico Benedetti, former security officer. Not the guy with classified clearances. Just Marco, a guy who likes coffee and old movies. He looked at me. I spent 12 years being someone else, playing roles, living in shadows. It was exhausting, soul-crushing. By the time I left, I barely remembered who I actually was. Voice dropped. Meeting you reminded me. You saw me, just me, and that was enough. I didn't want to complicate that with my past. But you still consult. Sometimes, when they need someone with my background. But I'm selective. I turn down more than I accept. Like whatever was in that portfolio. Yes, but I can't tell you what. I took his hand. I don't need details. But I need to know the truth. About you. About what I'm getting into. Fair enough. He stood, paced to the window. I was recruited young. 22. Computer science degree. Good with languages. They saw potential. Trained me, sent me places I can't name. He turned to face me. I protected people, important people, people whose deaths would have changed history. I prevented attacks, stopped threats, saved lives. Matter of fact, not bragging. I also saw things I wish I hadn't. Lost people I cared about. Made choices that haunt me. The work takes pieces of you until you're not sure what's left. Why did you leave? Because I realized I'd given enough. That if I stayed, there'd be nothing left. So I retired, moved to the States, started consulting real work, not a cover. He came back, sat beside me. But occasionally, the old life calls. They need my clearances, my background, and I can't always say no when lives are at stake. Is it dangerous? Sometimes, but less than before. Mostly briefings, assessments, strategy, prevention rather than reaction. I processed this. My quiet boyfriend had operated at the highest levels of international security. How much of what you told me was true? Everything. I just edited. Security work true. Cybersecurity consulting true. Valued privacy very true. I just didn't fill in details. Because you wanted to be normal. Because I wanted to be with you without complications. Without you seeing me as some action movie character. I'm just a man who did a job most don't know exists. I was quiet, thinking. Are you angry? He asked. No. Surprised. Overwhelmed. But not angry. I squeezed his hand. I fell in love with who you are. The man who answers my questions patiently. Who makes me laugh. Who sees me as a whole person. Whatever you did before, that's part of you. But not all of you. Relief flooded his face. You're sure? I'm sure. You told me what you could when you could. That's enough. He pulled me close. I love you. I love you too, Marco, Enrico, whoever you are. Today I'm just yours. We sat in silence. Then I started laughing. What? Did you see Thomas's face when Giancarlo called you Mr. Benedetti? Marco smiled. I did. I've seen that expression before. Usually right before someone realizes they've made a terrible mistake. That's poetic justice. That's karma. We laughed together. Real laughter that releases tension. What happens now? Now we see if your family can handle the truth. If they can accept this is real. And if they can't, then we move forward anyway. Together. Promise. Promise. The next morning, my phone rang at 7 Caroline. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. And again. Finally, I answered. What, Caroline, Mom? We need to talk. I don't think we do. Please. I'm sorry. We're all sorry. Can I come over? I looked at Marco, still asleep beside me. Fine. A few hours. Caroline arrived at noon. She looked terrible. No makeup hiding dark circles. Hair pulled back hastily. Yoga pants instead of designer outfits. Mom. Caroline. We sat in the living room. Marco had gone out giving us space. I don't know where to start. An apology might be good. I'm sorry. God, Mom, I'm so sorry. For everything. For judging Marco. For doubting you. For letting Thomas say those horrible things. Tears streamed down her face. I was wrong. About everything. Marco isn't what I thought. An ambassador? State Department. Classified documents? Apparently. And you knew? I knew some, not all. He told me what he could. She wiped her eyes. I feel like an idiot. We all do. Thomas is mortified. Won't come out of his room. Good. He should be. Mom, please. I know we don't deserve forgiveness. But we're asking. We were scared. Protective. You thought I was being scammed. That a young man couldn't love an old woman unless money was involved. She flinched but nodded, double quotes, yes. And we were wrong. So completely wrong. You were cruel, Caroline. Not just wrong. Cruel. You made me feel ashamed for being happy. I know. Do you? Do you understand what you put us through? She was crying harder. I do. And I'm sorry. I was scared, Mom. Scared you'd get hurt. Scared I'd lose you. Scared that. She trailed off. Scared that what? Scared that you'd found something I don't have, she whispered. What do you mean? Passion. Real connection. You and Marco. The way he looks at you. Richard and I don't have that. Haven't had it in years. Her voice broke. Seeing you so happy made me jealous. And angry. If my 70-year-old mother could find real love, what did that say about my marriage? I softened. This was honest, raw. Caroline, you're allowed to want more. But you can't tear down my happiness because you're unhappy. I know. I won't. Not anymore. I promise. She looked up with red eyes. Can you forgive me? I know I don't deserve it. But I'm asking. I was quiet. Thinking about months of judgment, the humiliation, but also thinking she was my daughter. People make mistakes. Growth is possible. I can forgive you, but things need to change. You need to treat Marco with respect. Real respect, not tolerance. Genuine respect. I will. We all will. I promise. And if you're unhappy in your marriage, that's something you need to address. Don't project that onto me. She nodded. You're right. I'll talk to Richard. Maybe counseling. That sounds good. Silence. Is Marco here? He went out. Gave us space. Can I apologize to him? When he gets back. If he's willing. I understand if he's not. Marco came home an hour after Caroline left. I told him about the conversation. She wants to apologize to you. Does she? She seems genuine. He was quiet. I don't need her apology. But if it would help your relationship with her, I'll accept it. You're too kind. I'm practical. Fighting with your family benefits no one. If they're willing to try, I can meet them halfway. James called that afternoon. Mom, I'm sorry for being a coward, for not defending you, for sitting there while Thomas said those awful things. Thank you, James. Can I come over? Talk to Marco? Start over? Marco agreed. James came that evening. They talked for over an hour. Normal things men talk about. When James left, he hugged me. He's good for you, Mom. I see that now. I'm sorry it took so long. Thomas was hardest. He texted first. Grandma, I'm so sorry. I was horrible. Unforgivable. I understand if you never want to talk to me again. I showed Marco. What do you think? I think he's young and stupid and scared, like we all were at 26. Should I respond? That's up to you. But people deserve second chances. I texted back. You were cruel. You humiliated both of us. But you're my grandson and I love you. We can talk when you're ready. He showed up the next day, looking aged. Eyes red, face pale. Grandma, I'm so sorry. Crying before he sat. I was out of line. I said things I can never take back. Why, Thomas? Why were you so cruel? Because I was scared, and stupid, and jealous. Jealous. Yeah, you're 70, and you found something real. I'm 26, and I've never had that. Every relationship has been shallow. Voice shaking. Seeing you so happy made me angry. If my grandmother could find real love, what did that say about me? I saw the pattern. Caroline feeling inadequate. Thomas feeling inadequate. Both projecting onto me. Thomas, you're young. You have time, but you have to be open. See beyond surfaces. I know. I'm sorry I couldn't see that with Marco. I just saw the age difference and assumed the worst. Assumptions are dangerous. Yeah, I learned that. Marco came in. Thomas stood immediately. Marco, Enrico, I'm sorry. What I said was unforgivable. Marco looked at him long. You're right. It was. But I'm going to forgive you anyway. Thomas's eyes widened. Really? Really? Because holding grudges is exhausting. And because your grandmother loves you. And because I was young once and said stupid things. He extended his hand. Fresh start. Thomas shook it, looking like he might cry again. Fresh start. Thank you, Dorili. 6 months have passed since that birthday dinner. 6 months since Giancarlo walked in and everything changed. Life hasn't been perfect. There are still awkward moments. Still questions I can't ask about Marco's work. Still occasional slips. But it's better. So much better. Caroline and I have lunch every other week. Real lunches. She's seeing a marriage counselor with Richard. Working on things. She seems happier. James stops by regularly. He and Marco have become genuine friends. They watch soccer together. Debate politics and technology. Thomas did something surprising. He asked Marco if he could job shadow him, learn about cybersecurity. Marco agreed. Now they meet for coffee every few weeks. Thomas is considering a career change. He's good at it, Marco told me. Has the right mindset. You're a good influence. Or he's growing up. Maybe both. Richard surprisingly embraced the relationship first. One evening, he pulled me aside. Beatrice, I owe you an apology. I was checked out. Dismissive. Thank you, Richard. Can I tell you something? I'm jealous. You're 70 and you found someone who actually gives a damn. Who shows up? He glanced toward Marco in the kitchen. Caroline and I lost something. Seeing what you have makes me realize what we're missing. It's not too late, Richard. Not if you both want it. I hope you're right. Sarah started inviting us to things. Dinner parties, wine tastings, charity events. I want people to meet you both. Show them love doesn't follow rules. At one party, an older woman approached me. You're Beatrice. I am. I've heard about you. About you and your boyfriend? Partner, yes. How long? Almost 3 years. She looked across the room at Marco. He's young. He is. And he's with you because? Here it was. Because we love each other. Because we challenge each other. Because age is less important than connection. She smiled. Really smiled. Good for you. I've been a widow for 4 years. Everyone says find someone age appropriate. But why? Why limit myself? Exactly. You've given me hope. Thank you. Marco appeared at my side, making converts, maybe, or just being honest. He kissed my temple. That's my favorite thing about you. We took a trip to Italy last spring, back to Milan. Same streets, same cafes, same hotel. Do you remember what you said that first night? I asked, overlooking the Duomo, that you were more beautiful than your photos. After that I didn't care about conventional, that I cared about you. Do you still? He took my hand, brought it to his lips. More than ever. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I don't care who knows it, even with all the judgment, especially with that, because we survived it. We're stronger for it. He pulled me closer. Besides, most judgment has stopped. Your family came around. My mother thinks you're wonderful. Random strangers' opinions don't matter. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just bring it out. We talk about the future now. What do you want? Marco asked one evening on my balcony. When? In 5 years, 10. For the rest of your life. This, you, us. Whatever time we have. What if I want more? What kind of more? Quiet. Then, what would you say if I asked you to marry me? My breath caught. Are you asking? Not yet, but I'm thinking about it. And I want to know if you'd say yes. I looked at him. This man who'd turned my life upside down in the best way. Yes. If you asked, I'd say yes. He smiled. Good to know. Are you going to ask? Eventually. When the moment is right. And when will that be? You'll know when it happens. I think about that birthday dinner sometimes. About Thomas calling Marco a gigolo. About the humiliation. But I also think about what came after. About Giancarlo. About Marco's revelation. About my family's stunned faces. Sometimes the worst moments lead to the best outcomes. That dinner forced everything open. Forced my family to confront assumptions. Forced them to really see Marco. And it forced me to realize I don't need anyone's permission to be happy. I'm 70 years old. I've earned every gray hair, every line on my face. And if I want to spend whatever time I have left with a brilliant, complicated man 39 years younger, that's my choice. No explanations, no apologies, no permission needed. Last week, Marco came home with a small velvet box. What's this? Open it. Inside was a ring. Simple, elegant, small emerald surrounded by diamonds. It was my grandmother's. My mother sent it. She wanted you to have it. Marco, I know we're planning the wedding, but I wanted to do this properly. He got down on one knee. Beatrice and Montgomery, will you marry me? Will you let me spend whatever time we have making you happy? Will you choose me every day the way I choose you? Tears streamed down my face. Yes. 1,000 times yes. He slipped the ring on. Perfect fit. I love you. I love you too. We're getting married next spring. Nothing big. Just us and close family and friends. Maybe Italy. Maybe here. Caroline is helping plan. She and Marco are actually friends now. James is walking me down the aisle. Said it would be an honor. Thomas asked if he could give a toast. Are you sure that's a good idea? I asked, half joking. I promise I won't call Marco a gigolo this time. I've learned my lesson. I'm 70 years old. Marco is 31. We've been together 3 years. People still stare sometimes. Still whisper. Still make assumptions. But I don't care anymore. Because here's what I've learned. Other people's comfort is not my responsibility. Their understanding is not required. Their approval is not necessary. I found love when society said I was done with love. Found passion when that part of life was supposed to be over. Found a partner who sees me as a complete person. And if that makes people uncomfortable, that's their problem, not mine. If this story touched you, if you've ever been judged for loving someone others didn't approve of, I want to hear from you. Comment below. Have you ever had to prove your love was real? Subscribe if you believe love doesn't have an expiration date, that happiness doesn't have an age limit, that respect is earned through character, not expectations. Hit like if this resonated. Share with someone who needs to hear it's never too late. That judgment doesn't define reality. That choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. You don't owe explanations for your happiness. You don't need permission to live. You don't need approval from people who refuse to see your story. Respect arrives quietly, sometimes through truth that can no longer be denied. At any age, you deserve to be seen, loved, respected, on your terms, without apology. Thank you for listening. Until next time, love doesn't follow rules, and that's exactly as it should be.